Good morning and welcome to my tutorial on how to render. I know a lot of people have rendering tutorials. Hopefully you'll get something new from my tutorial. If not, no big deal. But we're going to jump right in. The first programs that you are going to need is the Sims 4 game, Sims Ripper, Sims 4 Studio, Blender 3.0 or higher, and a Blender scene. These are all the things we're going to cover today in this tutorial. The links for those programs will be in the bio, so you can download them. So let's get started. We're going to start off in game with your sim in CAS. I've already created a sim here for this tutorial so that you guys can see how to make your Ripper load faster. So once you have your sim created in CAS, we're going to first always save your sim to your library. Because if you lose your sim, you don't want to have to go back. Once you have done that, and your sim saves to your library, we're going to jump right into game. I have created a new game for this tutorial so that I can show you some specific things. To get into manage households, you can go into game, then come out of game and manage worlds and go back into manage households if it's a new save. If it's not a new save, then this will just pop up. This is very important, and I'll tell you why. When you click on my households and other households, it will list all of the Sims in your game for this save. What you want to do is exit out of every sim in this save. Just get rid of them. They're not necessary for Ripper to have all of these households in your game. And all it does is make your Ripper lag and crash. A lot of people don't tell you this, but this I have found to be one of the best things I have figured out for Ripper. So once you have done that, and you have deleted every household and every of your my households that you have, and you only have the sim that you want to rip in your game. Once you have done that, then we will move on. Getting right back at it. Now we have only the 2 sims that I ripped for this tutorial. My other household is completely clean, and I have no more sims in my game other than the 2 sims I want to rip. These will be the only 2 things that will be in Ripper other than the sims that I cannot get rid of in my game. So, once you have done that, you will just save as Ripper only. Make sure to make a save that says Ripper only. Okay, so we have finished our sim in game. We've saved as Ripper only, and only the sims we are going to rip from that save. We are now going to exit out of game. Make sure to exit out of your game because you don't want a lot of programs going on at one time, and Ripper only will crash your whole computer if you have too many things running on your game and you don't have a very high-end computer. Like myself, I'm working on a laptop, so my game will stay on, but Ripper will crash, or anything else I try to do will crash. So anyway, moving on. We will exit out of the game now and go to Ripper. Okay, once you have downloaded Ripper, Ripper will take a very long time to load. Do not get worried. If you have a lot of CC, then it will take a lot longer. It has to go through all of your CC in your game. If you have little pop-ups saying that your package is null, it is okay. Just push OK and it will go away. This may happen the first time I did it. Granted, I have a huge CC folder. I had over 100 packages that came up. So it took quite a while. If you don't have as much CC as I do, which most people don't, then you only have a few. Just hit OK, and you can take a picture of those little things and go back and find them later and delete them from your game. Apparently they don't work. So, after Sim Ripper has finally loaded, we are going to get started. Your Ripper is finally loaded, and you will go over here to select, go by date, today, and find your save file that you did. I did mine at 11:16, so had to have been at 11:11. So we're going to use this save file. And as you can see over here on the left, these are all the Sims that are in my game. That is Ripper. Some of these I could not get rid of, I guess, because they're secret Sims or Sims that I haven't bothered to find. But right now, I have always named my Sim 0 before their last name. That way they pop up on the top. If you put 0 in front of the last name, they will always be on the top of your Ripper. So, we are going to go right in and click on this. This may take a little while for it to load. Sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it doesn't, depending on how fast your computer is. Now your Sim is loaded into Ripper. In this box, you can see how your Ripper is doing. If she is okay, everything looks alright. And you can use these buttons to move her around or zoom her in or go up and down. The most important thing that I can tell you about Ripper is this right here. When you load Ripper, it will come up as simple mesh texture. And you do not want that. You want it to be on solid and glass meshes and textures. Always. Always make sure that you have this on here. If not, you will have to go back and redo Ripper again. Once you have done that, then you will click DEA. You can do any outfit that you want of your Sim from here, but this is what we will be doing, is we are just going to do the first outfit from this Sim, and we're going to hit the DEA button, and then we're going to save in a folder that I have created called New Renders. I always have a whole bunch of categories for what my Sims are going to be doing. This one is just for fun. So we're going to make a new folder for fun and call it tutorial. Then we're going to save her. This process is much faster if you do not have a million Sims in your game. So then you can just move on to the next Sim that you want to rip and do the exact same thing. The next step, we're going to be working with Sims 4 Studio. We're going to find a pose, and we're going to download that pose. Go to wherever you find your poses and click on a pose that you want to use. For this one, we will be using Cassandra, one of Cassandra's poses, because I just downloaded a bunch of hers. Now, once you've found the pose that you want to do, you click on a pose. Make sure that this is whatever your sim is. If it's a male, then download it as a male. If it's a child or a toddler, download it as a toddler or dog or whatever you're going to render you want to make sure that it's in the right category. Otherwise, your pose will look crazy. Once you have that, then export that and put that Blender file in that folder. This may take a few minutes, but not too long. Once you have the Blender file for the pose that you want to use, make sure you have it in your folder, and it's easy accessible where you know you'll find it later easily. It's very important that you do this first. That way, when we go back to it later, it will be much easier for you, I have found. Okay, so for the sake of this tutorial not being super long, we're going to jump right into the next thing. And stick with me because you're almost there. I like to use Blender 3.0.1. This Blender has the best camera that I've found for myself to use, and it was the first one that I used, so I'm most comfortable with it. Anyway, you want to click on your cube, delete it. Click on this camera, right click, and delete. Same with the cube. Click on it, right click, delete. Use this little camera, this little wheel right here to move your camera around. I use a touchpad, so I hold down with my right finger and hold down my left finger on my touchpad and move it around. If you are using a mouse, then it will be a little different for you, but not that much different. So what we're going to do now that we're in Blender is we're going to File, Import, Kaleida Default DEA. It will take you then to your files, and you will go to wherever you put your sim. Here we have Felicia Zero Hair DEA. We're going to click on that, and here we go. To zoom in, to get her closer, use this little hand right here where it says move the view to pull the screen down. Use the little circle to move it around. Once you have that, I want you to go up here to viewport shading, click on the second little circle, and now you have your sim in color. But she is not ready yet. So I want you to come up here where it makes this little cross. Drag that cross over to the left by holding down. You now should have two windows. Once you have your 2D window set up, you're going to go up here to this little box and go down to Shader Editor, and it will make this little window. I usually pull this over to the right to give myself some more room. Then we're going to go to Rig, where this little arrow is, and drop it down. Go to your first Felicia, or sim, whatever your sim's name is. Then hold and drag up these boxes together. If they disconnect, then you can always hit Control-Z to go back. Anytime you have an accident, just hit Control-Z to go back. So, now you will want to save. File, save as your sim. Always save in between. That way you don't lose your progress. Okay, now we have this in a big window where you can see it. Let's begin. We're going to take color to spectacular. Shift A. Shader to mix shader. Pull that up. Let go. Shader down to this shader. Alpha to the FAC. Shift A to transparent BSDF. Then we're going to take that BSDF to this shader. Then we're going to click on our glass texture and do the exact same thing again. Color to shader, Shift A, shader, make shader, let go. We're going to drop this shader down to the bottom, alpha to the FAC, Shift A, down to transparent BSDF. I cannot get that right today. Shader to transparent BSDF. And take that BSDF to the shader. Now, once you have done both of those for your glass and solid textures, you will click this box where it says Material Properties, and right here where it says Blend Mode, instead of Opaque, you will switch to Alpha Hashed. Now, let's scroll the screen over and zoom in to our sim and pull her down with this little hand. Now you can see all of her eyelashes are transparent, her hair is transparent, everything is beautiful. Now we save again. Save. Always save. Now we're going to go to pose mode. Up here to pose mode. And over here where we went to the editor type, where instead of shader editor, we will be going to nonlinear animation. And that will bring up this window right here. Now we're going to scroll in super close to her face so we can see the little dots. Click on the dot until it lights up. Once it is lighted up, you will hit I on your keyboard and go to Location, Rotation, Scale, otherwise known as Lock Rot Scale. Click on that and it will bring up this orange bar. Hit on the arrow and it will bring up these strips. You will right click and delete strips. Now we will go to File, Append, and we will go to wherever we had your poses saved. Now, once we hit that, we will hit Action. You will see your pose, and we will do that, and nothing happened. That's okay. Now we will come up here to Add Action Strip. Hit the pose, and just like that, your sim is now posed. Just the way you want her to be. Yay! You did it! You are a master! Give yourself a round of applause. So I don't want to lose you, so we're going to go right back into it again. You now have your sim posed just the way you want her, and you want to file and save her posed. Now, I'm going to show you a trick real quick that's pretty easy, and then we will bring in the scene. If you click on pose mode and you go to object mode, you can add a mesh plane. Turn her sideways and then click on this little button that says transform, and you can move your plane up, down, around. You can pull this back behind her and use the inside buttons to scale the plane sideways or upwards. Then, once you have done that, you will go to Material Properties, click New, and most people use Principled BDSF, or they will use Glossy. We will use Glossy for this tutorial at the moment. You can change the color of your background to be whatever you want it to be in this little color wheel. But, as you know, most people don't like using a plain background, so delete that. Now, if you want to work with a scene, which most people do because, hey, why not? If you're going to have a 3D sim, you might as well have a 3D scene. So we're going to go and open. You don't need to save because you had already saved. And we're going to open one of the scenes I have recently created. This may take a few minutes to load, but that's okay. If it's a high poly scene, it will definitely load a lot slower. If it is a low poly scene, it should not take you that long to load. So now I have my scene, And my scenes, I set up the camera for the sim so that all you have to do is bring your sim in. This has been very easy for me and makes my time much more valuable. So once you have your scene in, you will hit File, Append, and you will go to where you saved your sim. Here we have the sim that I saved, Posed. Now, this time we're going to append her as an object. We're going to click on the first one, hit Shift, click on the last one, and they all will light up, and I will append her. Now, as you can see, my sim is now in the scene, and I can move her around. If you need to move your sim, once you have done this, go down to Rig. Make sure that you click on the second rig, not the first one at the top, but the second one. If you click on this rig or anything else, she will stretch out and look crazy weird. So make sure you're on the right rig when you move her, and you just scroll her up forward, and I use the second window to see where she is in the scene. I use the right window to make sure that she is placed exactly where I want her to be. Then I will go to Camera, and I will move this camera around to be placed exactly where I want it to be by moving this wheel and moving this hand and getting the camera as close to my sim as possible and still be in the scene. You can also rotate your camera down or around sideways by clicking the blue button. This may take a little while to get used to. It took me a little while to learn the camera. But once you have it down, you'll figure it out, and it's relatively easy. Now, with this scene, it has a reflective thing in it. Okay? So, because it has reflective in it, then I always use cycles. Click on this top little bar right here that says Render Properties. Hit Cycles. Make sure Denoise is checked. And most people render right here where it says max samples at 100 or higher. I render at 36 because it's a lot faster. Once you've done that, then you come up here to Render Image. And now you will render your image. And she looks amazing. Wait until this number at the top says 36 to 36 and your render will be complete. Once your picture has finished rendering, then come up to Image Saved, Save As, and save your picture to your computer as whatever you want it to be. I appreciate you watching my tutorial. I hope you found some new stuff to work with, and I hope I made it easy for you to learn how to render and to bring your Sims into a Blender scene. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments on this post or just hit me up in PM and I will help you. Have a magnificent day. Bye-bye.